Lawyers check email constantly, and I used to do it too. And then I tried something radically different from a book that I know lots of people say is completely out of date. But it changed the way I practice law, and it changed the way I still run my life. So, the book I'm talking about is The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, which was originally published in 2007 with, I think, an update in 2009. And I know there were lots of objections to this book. Some people talked about how it's unrealistic or misleading, or this idea that it's kind of a get rich quick kind of thing. There were ethical concerns with the outsourcing of all the material and all the work that actually needed to be done. And these days, people talk about not outsourcing to another human, but actually outsourcing to AI. And then some people objected because they thought, well, it portrays work as the enemy, because what people really need is more purposeful, meaningful, connected work that they're doing. And this is one of the great things in our lives. And I absolutely believe that's true. And I think many people don't feel that way about their work. They don't feel like they're working for a particular purpose. They just feel like they're working for the paycheck. Um, and so that I don't think it's wrong for someone to not want to work and to want to be on a beach instead. And I also believe that if there are ways to make your work more suit your life, to make it more connected and meaningful, then that's the best option, right? Because we don't all have the ability to immediately change. And so, if whatever position you're in, if you are trying to create more meaningful work, if you are trying to get out of the work you're doing now, or if you're just trying to create this long runway, this ability to transition into something else, this may be helpful for you. Uh, some notes that I made when I originally read the book, which are funny, I have to share because the one was deal with time wasters. And this was huge for me because I was constantly getting interrupted. I was choosing to check my email frequently throughout the day. I was allowing people to come in and ask me questions, and I would stop and help. And then I realized that if I could put some boundaries around my time, I would be so much more productive when I was actually at the office and doing work, and therefore would be able to work fewer hours because I would get more done. And so, one thing I did was I started to look at my email twice a day. And, I would tell people that this is what I was doing. And at one point, I think, even put it in my email footer that this is when I was checking email. And so, if it was urgent and an emergency, they needed to call me. But otherwise, that I would check it and respond. And I think I gave my response period as well, like within 24 hours or that sort of thing. Um, this helped me a lot with setting that boundary with others. And so it was stated, it was clear, everybody knew. And it also personally helped me do it so that when I got the itch to check my email, and I truly believe there's a little bit of that dopamine hit when you check your email. And I used to do it first thing in the morning when I woke up, and that was the worst. And so I really tried to be more boundaried with myself around when did I do this work. I also began to follow up all interruptions with some creation of boundary. It's like when someone would come in, I'd say, "Oh, I'm right in the middle of something, but I've got 10 minutes. How can I help you?" And so it's like pre framing that conversation with a limit that would allow you to do. And there were times with some people when I would set a timer and do so that I could truly stay focused with them for that period of time. Um, this is the ability that allowed me to continue to love the interruption and do, but also to begin to minimize and begin to talk to people about that because, and this I'll talk about in a little bit, I needed times when I wasn't interrupted, when I wasn't doing other things, when I wasn't task switching, so that I could stay focused and I could do more of the deep thinking. In fact, I changed the way my office was organized because I think that this is the point. It is to change what is in your power and stop trying to fight against the things that aren't, but starting truly with the things that are in your power. Starting with, for example, I took a couple USPQs and put them on my desk, and I put my computer monitor there so it was more ergonomic. I did this at one point so I have more of a standing desk and it was easily taken down. So, like when clients came into my office, I could remove the books and move my monitor back to the same place. But having that ability to stand up and do work was great for my health, but it was also great for my mental health. It helped me stay focused on a longer day. I also used a small table in the library and at the office, and I would go and sit down there, and I would do it without my laptop usually, and I would do it with the yellow pad of paper and really sit down and gather my thoughts and do my deeper thinking, do my more divergent thinking when I was at the beginning of a case or the beginning of an application, so that I had this broad spectrum to pull from, and then I could do the more convergent, the more narrowing down, the focusing in. And this ability to change location and associate that kind of thinking with that place allowed me to really lean into that ability. And I think I was a better lawyer because of it. Um, and then, you know, there was this idea that and these are some of my favorite quotes. They talked about interest and energy are cyclical. So for me, understanding that, for example, my energy went down in the afternoon after lunch and it was harder for me to focus. And so this was not great drafting time for me. This was absolutely the time for me to reach out, connect to clients, do that sort of thing so that I would get energy from that interaction. I have the note. I want to be their trusted advisor, and my gift is the gab. My gift is that conversation, my ability to connect with my clients and their matters. And so, if I would put that work in the afternoon, one, it was easy to reach people at that time of day, and two, it allowed me to work around my own energy in a way that made me the most productive. It was something that helped me stay in connection with my clients and really serve them in the best way possible, and also protected my mornings for that real focused work. Another quote that I love for this is less is not laziness. And I worked with one attorney and he used to talk about how you never finish, you just run out of time. And I totally believe this is true. It is like you're there at the last minute perfecting the motion and it's due, by the end of the day. And so you're starting to stay late to continue to work on it. And I think that there is a place to know that it's actually done earlier, and all that work that you're just doing at the end is not really truly productive work. Like you've gotten 80% of the way there, and it may not be 100%, but truthfully, do you need to stay until 11 o'clock to get it to that 100%? What is the difference between an 80% motion and a 100% motion? What is your enough factor? Can it be 95? Can it even be 90? What is the place where you have done the work and you can move on to the next thing because you have a lot to do. You've got a lot on your plate and you can't spend all your time on one thing. And so this is about reconfiguring those priorities and really seeing it as not a character flaw, not being lazy, not doing bad work, but prioritizing what else needs to be done and honestly, having a life. One of the other things I love, and this all was under challenging the status quo, which I believe is essential for our practices. And so he talked about emphasize strength, don't fix weaknesses. And this I love. And I think that if more lawyers would lean into this ability to really connect where we're great and stop trying to be someone we're not, stop trying to be the lawyer we're not. By this, I mean, if your ability is really about connection with your clients, it is about that empathy, it is about the ability to see their side, then lean into this. This is what will make you the lawyer that your clients refer everyone to. Because if you really care about their case and they feel that, that is absolutely of importance. And so, if your ability, though, is not the people side, it is your gift for research, your ability to hone in on the minutia to find that exact case on point, to be able to persuade in that super precise manner, then maybe you have created some templates for your communication with clients because that's not really your strength. Maybe you ask someone in the office to go over them with you to make them more warm, more helpful, more um, interactive in a way that does not come naturally to you because you tend to focus on factual and informational. And so, if you can then use those templates in your situation, in your communication, you are taking advantage of that collective thought of the other people and their ability to do work in a way that you don't. And then you really spend your time and energy on the places where you're great. There's no reason for you to agonize over an email if that's not your gift. Get help, get a template, continue to use them. Um, the last quote that I loved with challenging the status quo from this book was, money alone is not the solution. And I got to say, yeah, because this is something I know that's true for my own life. I know that I could make more money if I continued my law practice. In fact, I've had lots of opportunities, even now, a couple of years later, where people are like, oh, I wish you could be my lawyer. And I absolutely am okay with not doing it. I have found a balance in my life where I have enough money to cover my needs. I enjoy my life and I don't need more. And it was something that I didn't really understand while I was continuing to work as a lawyer. It was something that I didn't understand when I was, shall we say, shopping for leisure. It was like I was buying things to make myself feel better so I could continue to practice, so I continued to make the money to buy the things that made me feel better. And it was this terrible cycle that I had. And being able to break out of that cycle to know that, one, I never have to wear a suit again if I don't want to. I don't even have to wear skirts, definitely not nylons. And high heels are completely gone from my life. And this is such a gift. And maybe you choose differently. Maybe you don't want that, or you have other obligations. But to be able to really think about money as just one factor rather than the defining factor has really been a gift in my life. So, this has been my interpretation, my review of the 4 Hour Work Week. I think actually it's still, even now, useful to read because it causes us to question our assumptions. It wants us to challenge the way that we work now, to see that if the way we work now, I think a lot of us are being pushed into this because of the changes in technology that have happened recently. And we are acceding to it. We are letting it happen to us in some ways. We are embracing it more because it's being forced upon us rather than because we're interested, we're curious, we're really wanting to look at the way we work and change it. And I think that little bit of shift where it's you take power, you take control over the things you can control, and you look at ways that maybe this was not the way law has been traditionally practiced, but maybe it's how we can do it now, how you can do it here, how you can create things that will continue to meet your standards, but also will free up your life, will free up your practice, will free up your time, your energy, so that you can do great work in the world, work that is meaningful for you, work that is aligned with your purpose in the world. And this is what I want for us all. So, hi, I'm Moira. And if you want to go deeper into this, there's a link below. Click it, schedule a free consultation. I'd love to talk about this. And if you have a question and would like it answered, please leave a comment and I will happily do a video. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day and happy lawyering. Bye.